What up, guys? Spottabot here. Today we're going to be talking about the Honey Badger, our first assault rifle weapon review for Call of Duty Ghosts. An integrated silencer. I love it. I love silencers. I always run a silencer, and we happen to be playing a game of maybe not entirely appropriate for a weapon with a silencer, but hardcore kill confirmed. This was during the last Clan War #2 in Oahu that we played. But the Honey Badger is pretty solid. I mean, it handles very, very well. I like using the gun. So let's start looking at some of the stats. I mean, it's mid-range for the mag. There are only 2 assault rifles that have not 30 rounds in the magazine. That's the FAD with 42 and the Remington R5 with 24. Everything else, every single assault rifle has 30 in the mag. The damage is pretty, it's up there as well. I mean, it's at 42 for max damage, mid damage is 20, meaning at max damage, you're a 3-shot kill if none of those bullets are to the head. If you get a bullet to the head, you still have, it's not quite the 1.5 times multiplier that we saw with the SMGs. There are only 3 assault rifles that have a 1.5 multiplier. The Honey Badger has a 1.4. Doesn't matter. 1 shot to the head, as long as it's one of the first 2 shots, then you're taking your enemy player down, right? Okay, so with the silencer, it's got a pretty decent range. The Remington R5 is probably the only other assault rifle that has a better range, although its RPM is lower, so the time to kill is going to vary. But the Honey Badger has a very good silenced range profile for the drop-off, the range drop-off at the start and end. So it's a pretty solid long-range silenced weapon. The RPM is on the high side. There are only 2 assault rifles that have a higher RPM than the Honey Badger. That is the ARX 160, and that's only slightly higher than the Honey Badger and the FAD. Now for handling, the Honey Badger is actually one of the best handling weapons. The drop time is the lowest out of all the assault rifles, and only the Remington R5 has a shorter raise time. So when you're running, you're raising your gun. The Honey Badger is very well placed in the assault rifle class. Also, the reload time for when you're adding ammunition to your mag or reloading from empty is second best out of all assault rifles, again behind the Remington R5. So a very solid assault rifle indeed, and that's probably why I enjoy using it so much. Now, one other thing I wanted to do a comparison on here with the assault rifles is taking a look specifically at the semi-automatic and burst fire attachments and how they impact the weapon handling, damage, etc. Alright? Because there's a lot of talk about this MSBS being OP because it comes integrated initially with a 3-round burst. Now, you can put on the fully auto attachment or the semi-auto attachment onto the MSBS, but, as a base weapon, it comes burst fire, and the time to kill is very, very low. Well, the thing is, you put on these attachments onto any of these assault rifles, and it becomes nearly equivalent to the MSBS. If I put on a semi-automatic, I end up getting, or burst fire. For both the burst fire and semi-automatic, you get damage multipliers. All right, so for neck, upper torso, and lower torso with the Honey Badger, you're getting a 1.5 damage multiplier. So anywhere you hit center mass, I mean, other than hitting a player in the arms or legs, you're getting a 1.5 times multiplier, which brings that max damage well beyond the max damage of the MSBS. I mean, you're talking about 55 max damage on the MSBS with a 3-round burst. Well, the Honey Badger at 1.5, you're looking at 63. So, I mean, it's pretty solid. And we were running some tests on this. It's kind of hard to get 2 hits only on the burst fire, but definitely if you're shooting somebody in the leg or the arm, you're not going to get that multiplier. And that does sort of conflict with our testing on the MSBS, because I'm pretty sure that the MSBS, if you put the semi-auto, you're still getting that multiplier, that 55 max damage, even though you're hitting the extremities. Okay, so that's probably the only difference. But, again, putting these attachments, 3-round burst, again, the MSBS is OP because the time to kill is so low, but you can put the burst or semi-automatic on any of these weapons, and they become a pretty more effective killing machine than full auto. I mean, even almost better than or better than the marksman rifles. I think the marksman rifles, when I was doing some testing with Hyper, he mentioned that there are limits on how fast you can fire the marksman rifles in semi-automatic mode, right? Well, you don't necessarily have that as much of a restriction with the assault rifles. He was testing specifically the MSBS with the semi-automatic attachment, and it was just, he can just fire at will. It didn't feel like it was locking in and restricting the timing in between the time that he was hitting the trigger. So he was firing it a lot faster, as you know, versus the marksman rifles. And we might take a look at that in a separate video, is look more specifically and take a closer look at the assault rifles with the semi-automatic attachment versus the marksman rifles. So that's it. That's the Honey Badger. Pretty solid. I do enjoy using it, and the integrated silencer is pretty awesome, and it leaves me with 2 slots open for additional attachments. So I do like it. Anyways, that's it. I'm Spider, and I'm out.